What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is June 24th of 2022. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's video, we're going to ask the big question: what is going on in the altcoin market for cryptocurrencies? As we are clearly currently in a bear market where fear has set in, Bitcoin has collapsed all the way down to $17,600 at its absolute lows, Ethereum breaking below $1,000 in price. All the while, we have seen some recovery in both cryptos. The altcoin market, the all-encompassing market of cryptocurrencies, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, as well as stablecoins, has been resurging immensely over the past week and a half. And I want to spend some time to talk about why this might be, as well as talk about what I'm doing as someone who's allocated to altcoins at the moment. We've got a lot of things to dive into today's video. Let's go ahead and kick things off here. Now, before we dive into the chart here, diving into altcoin dominance, again, as we talked about earlier, let's just take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Since the lows here that we set in here back on June 18th, we've seen Bitcoin recover about 19% in price. And this is definitely a steady rebound here. It's really nice to see some recovery. We've taken ourselves back to where we were on June 14th, so about 10 days worth of negative or generally downward pressure here, recovered here over the last few days. And the ETH to BTC ratio, after a pretty stark correction here of about 44% from the previous highs back in December, we have now started to see here that the ETH to BTC ratio has gone up about 12%, taking us yet again back here towards around June 11th here, wiping back about 13 days of price action. And this is all great to see, but when I talk about the altcoin market, I don't want to focus, of course, on Bitcoin, nor in this case Ethereum. I'm really talking about all of the other altcoins out there. And what we find when we utilize the proper measurements and ratios that just a lot of people aren't keeping track of, we find some really interesting insights that I think you should pay attention to. So what we've got here is one of our custom ratios we built here for the channel, where we have total 2. This is the market cap of all cryptocurrencies, excluding Bitcoin. And of course, from here, if we're trying to get an idea of what the broader altcoin space looks like, we're going to go ahead and subtract 2 key elements here. We're going to subtract the market cap of Ethereum, and we're also going to subtract the market cap of USDC and USDT, as they make up well over 90% of the dollar liquidity within the market here. And what we're going to do from this is divide it by BTC to get ourselves a nice ratio of the entire altcoin space, roughly speaking, divided by Bitcoin, right? So this is like how people, for example, would look at, for example, the ETH to BTC pair, or might look at the XRP to BTC pair, right? If you're trading a crypto, you obviously want to hold something, if you're going to invest in altcoins, that's outpacing your next best option. And that's why we look at Bitcoin and Ethereum ratios. Now, we are looking at the Bitcoin ratio here. What's fascinating is that it looks just as good as well if you divide it by Ethereum. So what's going on here? Why have we seen this major resurgence here for the altcoin market, traveling up here about 29, nearly 30% here in the past week and a half? Taking you to the daily chart, you guys can see it even clearer here. We'll get our percentage drawing here put onto the chart, taking us really back to where we were during a part of the free fall here back in May of 2021. So an entire month and a half nearly of losses against Bitcoin have been regained. Now, of course, I understand what a lot of you guys are shouting to the roof about. Yes, dollar pairs are down. Everything is down. Bitcoin is dramatically down as well. And to be honest, many people, including myself, are completely shocked as to how far it went down, right? That's all been said and done. We realize that. But what I think is really interesting here, and what we need to talk about, is how well altcoins are reacting during a bear market when compared to Bitcoin. This is not typical price action here that we usually see. And I think what's playing out here is not just some, all the while I'm going to talk about the fact that I do believe it is good to take some profits. It's good to use this opportunity to take some chips off the table. If you take anything away from the video, that's a key point. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go throughout the conversation. But what I think you're seeing here is that a large player in the market here is we are getting into the kind of capitulation phase of the sell-off for Bitcoin, meaning that we're in dollar cost average territory. We might still go down, a couple $1,000s in BTC's price, but we're at the typical 70% or below range here from all-time highs. And even considering the macro environment, considering all these factors, we are likely entering into sideways capitulation here, meaning that even though we might have a dip here over the coming weeks, we're not going to be trending back vertically high in the near term, but also not going down to really dramatic levels like some people are calling for, like 5,000 or 10,000, right? So again, coming into this kind of sideways range. And because of that, sometimes market participants who have, for example, seen how the other sector that they weren't exposed to has performed, they might want to take this opportunity to rotate if they feel that it's oversold. This happens in traditional markets. You have this where, for example, people are exposed to various different sectors, and when certain sectors do very well, they rotate into oversold or fundamentally discounted sectors. Now, I'm not saying on a fundamentals basis altcoins are at a discount. Some of these could be completely worthless. To be honest with you all, altcoins, just like cryptocurrencies and practically any asset class, are valued at the eyes of the beholder. It depends on what someone's willing to pay for them at that given time, right? And that's the same with Bitcoin, right? You might say Bitcoin is a store of value, it's great. Ethereum's great because there's smart contracts and dApps, and all the while there is value and there's transactions being made. To be completely candid with you guys, it's all perceived value. That's asset markets. Assets never really truly matched fundamental value. And sure, if you have fundamentals that can back the underlying foundation of an asset's value and provide better support during discounts, but again, it's all in the eye of the beholder here. Now, with this recent rebound here, this 30% move against Bitcoin here, as I emphasized earlier, even though we understand that maybe some larger players are getting their allocation into altcoins, maybe some people are taking the trade opportunity, buying out of this very heavily sold range here. We've seen altcoins crater down about nearly 50%, big even level here for people to look at. Not to mention, this has been a range of previous support and resistance in the past, so it's a big psychological level here. All the while, this has been great to see, and I think it's awesome, especially considering that I've been exposed to some altcoins that got hit heavy. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm thinking about taking some chips off the table here. This is the kind of relief rally I wanted to see. I wanted to see Bitcoin tick up a little bit, and I wanted to see altcoins, in this case, recovering a bit of their losses against Bitcoin. I'm not saying to get completely out of the market. It's maybe not something you want to do if you have a project that you think is yet to manifest its full value, and for that, I can't tell you guys what to do. Again, I have some long-term plays that I'm not looking to touch here or sell into strength. But there are some cryptocurrencies where maybe I'm overexposed or that I want to finally kind of step away here, maybe still on the profit here, maybe on some losses depending on when I entered into the trade. And it's good to take these opportunities where there is some sign of optimism in the market, especially when the general longer term trend is fearful, or you at least know that capitulation in the core asset like Bitcoin is going to persist for some time. A big thing that is important to know about, guys, and you can learn this from analyzing previous cycles, all the while we've seen cycles can change and they can do X, Y, and Z. The vast majority of the time, when Bitcoin even starts to recover out of a bear market, it is still going to take a long period of time for altcoins to start making gains. Ethereum didn't set in its lows against Bitcoin before, again, making multiples against it later on in 2020, 2021, until the summer of 2019. And that's a very important thing to think about, considering when the fact that Bitcoin had bottomed in December of 2018. Right? Multiple months before altcoins even had a sliver of optimism compared to the performance of Bitcoin. And again, all the while someone might be allocating here. Maybe we've just, again, got traders taking this opportunity. Maybe there's just a storm of FOMO and momentum to try to catch what many people might think is the bottom. Again, it's important to note that gains in the altcoin market can be taken back just as quick as they are given. And as we approach things like the 200-day or 200 EMA here, I think there's a good chance we probably see some rollover here. Now, there will certainly be some outliers here. And again, that's why you can always keep some exposure, keep some chips on the table. But I think it might be good to take some off, to de-risk a bit here, guys. Have some cash on standby. And what's great about that is that if the market continues to stay in this capitulation range, you'll probably be able to buy back in on some of your favorite plays. You'll be able to get into maybe more safer assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, a good opportunity to rotate. And if you have any losses and you're in the US, you can write off your losses. So in this case, when you make gains back in the future, you have realized those losses this tax season and use them to your benefit the next coming year, right? So there's a lot of benefits here that we can take advantage of here within this strength here. And we're not selling at absolute capitulative lows like we would have been back here on June 12th. Now, you might be asking yourself, where is the strength coming from here? If it's not coming from Ethereum, where's it coming from? Right? Because if Ethereum is only up about this much percent, we really got to think about what projects are doing well here. Which ones are regaining that market cap? Well, it's a whole range of players here. You've got XRP here, for example, that has brought itself back to a level that it's been consistently ranging around here essentially since back in June of 2020. So it is on par with the performance of Bitcoin really since as far back as June of 2020 here. We've got BNB, which has continued to hold up on an ascending line of support here against its Bitcoin pair here. Basically, just a few percentage points away from its May 2021 highs or its highs in December of 2021. Right? So really not too faded here against Bitcoin. Sol BTC, for example, right? You guys know we don't talk about Solana too much here, but I got to give it credit here. It's up from the lows here about 50, excuse me, I was doing my math wrong there, about 76% from its relative highs here, 72% at the moment of recording here. Now again, take a look here at the chart though. Again, just an important lesson. Market gives, right? Gives these great opportunities to recoup back weeks of losses as people are accumulating large positions. The sell side pressure is weighing down, but as gains come up, people take advantage of that opportunity, and the market will take away the gains it just gave you as soon as it will give it to you. Effectively meaning what comes up can come down just as quick, all right? But there again, other plays here that in the market have played a role in this, right? We've seen Avalanche, which has been on a brutal sell-off here, about an 80% downturn from the highs here, seeing a major rebound here in price coming off of the lows here, about 50% against Bitcoin. That's really exciting stuff to see here. And even one of the DeFi plays we've talked about here, right? Uni, in this case, making a really stellar double bottom rebound here of upwards of 87% here. Just earlier today, going up towards around 94%. Take these relief rallies when you get the opportunity, folks. Take some chips off the table. You earned it for being able to stomach a lot of that volatility. And yeah, maybe you could have sold at a better dollar value earlier on, guys. But this is kind of what I mean here. If you were able to avoid that period of peak emotions, the reason I say not getting caught 2 steps behind is it's not that you're always going to get the most favorable outcome. The problem that I find, though, is that people tend to only seriously consider taking action and actually walking away from the table when the going gets incredibly tough. When your emotions are riding high, when you're so mad at yourself that, why didn't I do this earlier? I should have done this. You're basically coming to yourself with hindsight statements saying, I should have done X, Y, and Z. But when the market rebounds, the vast majority of the people don't have the memory to remember, hey, remember how rough it was down there? Perhaps we take some risk off the table. Instead, greed takes over for a lot of people when it comes to this kind of trading. Now, if you guys are looking to take some profits on altcoins or write off losses and really take advantage of this rally here, one of the things that I definitely recommend you guys check out is today's sponsor for our video. It's a very fitting platform here. It's the 1inch protocol, which we've talked about probably a dozen times here on the channel. I'm a big fan of 1inch as it's an aggregator of automated market makers in the DeFi space or decentralized exchanges, making sure that you can get the best rate and be the most gas efficient with your trades in the market. It is a major risk-off tool in this case to give you the best rates and make sure that you don't incur high degrees of slippage or you have to deal with inefficient trades or gas setups. Now, what the cool thing is about 1inch here is that it really is kind of a one-stop place for all things DeFi, and it excels in focusing in on allowing you to swap from one asset to another. There are different order types, from direct swaps, which you can do at any given time from one asset to another, effectively doing market orders. You can do limit orders here as well to make sure that you get in your entry at a specific price. Maybe you want to wait for the price to tick up a little bit higher, or maybe even set in a limit order in this case to buy in when we get the dip in the market, and also peer-to-peer trades. There's all kinds of ways you can interact with it. But the most popular product here is to swap from one asset to another. And the really cool thing here is that you're going to get more bang for your buck here by utilizing 1inch over just using a well-known AMM like Uniswap or other providers out there on the market. Now, what I think is really exciting here is that the 1inch Foundation has worked on a gas refund program. By staking a certain amount of tokens of the 1inch platform token, you're able in this case to reclaim back some of the gas fees that you pay out in the form of 1inch. So for every amount of gas that you spend, after having certain thresholds of 1inch tokens staked, you will get certain percentages of refunds on your gas in the form of 1inch. So it's a great way in this case to cut back some of the costs in this case if you're a long-term supporter of the protocol, if you're excited about 1inch has to offer here. Again, I recommend you guys do your own research on the 1inch governance token, learn a little bit about it here, try out the protocol first, but it is something, again, if you're a power user and you're actively utilizing DeFi protocols to trade, that could be something to watch here, right? Now, again, not only is it exciting in the sense of its ability to service the layer 1 ecosystem, but you've also got a whole range of implementations of 1inch, like the Polygon implementation, where over the last 7 days, over $106 million have been safely processed through its decentralized exchange. And I think that, again, it's important to emphasize here just how consistent 1inch has been. I've used it personally many times within the crypto space. So again, I highly recommend you guys give it a shot here if you're looking for a DeFi protocol. If it's applicable for you to use in this case, if you can get access to it, and on top of that, if you have MetaMask or some kind of browser extension where you guys manage your crypto assets. But if you guys are interested, check out the link down below in the description to learn more about it. But I want to go ahead and kind of close off this conversation here, guys, that we've been talking about. And it has to do with the current state of the market here. As we talked about the altcoin strength here, the rebound trade that I think some people are going for here, right? A lot of people are probably wondering on the big question, like, are we at a bottom, Nick? Is this time to go all in? And as you guys have probably seen, if you watched the last video, the previous one, we hit a lot on this topic about not just trying to pick a bottom, not just going all in, right? What I think is a reasonable way to approach this, right? And again, take it with a grain of salt. It's something that, again, I think like any other opinions, you got to take in a dozen opinions and really try to formulate what you think is the best path forward. But when we get into this historical range here, where we are down over 70% in price, that we are in pure capitulation here, where every time there is a wave of profit making on altcoins and crypto, it gets usually sold off and goes even lower, or at least rolls down in terms of dollar gains. During these periods of time, this is not a time to be fearful, to be dramatically panicking, but at the same time, it's not a time to absolutely FOMO and try to pick knives, catching a falling knife, essentially. What's probably best here is over the next 3 to 4 months, slowly taking either income that you have or free available cash and just dollar cost averaging into safer plays and not putting all of it into crypto, right? Still having cash aside in case you need it for the things that you need and love in life. And outside of that as well, having exposure to equities, other types of assets, putting aside money for a property, right? That's when we're really getting into the conversation that, again, I can't be of direct advice for you guys on around financial planning. But we are right now. If we take a look here at CryptoQuant, our data science partner here on the channel, if we take a look at one of the time-tested net unrealized profit and loss models for Bitcoin, we can see that we are in the later stages of this bear market. We can go down lower. We've seen it previously in 2015. We've seen it here in 2018. All I'm saying here is that this is not a period to rush into the market or rush out of it. It's a period where I think it's favorable to be a bull and slowly dollar cost average exposure. And I can't guarantee anything, but I would bet money in this case that you'll be better off getting a rate just slowly averaging in over the preceding weeks and months rather than trying to pick an absolute bottom. Because the problem with trying to pick an absolute bottom is that when people go back all in, you have all the same emotions of when you were holding a position or trading in the past. And when you might get maybe a little bit of a relief rally, you'll get a rally back downwards or a sell-off. And then you might sell out of your position at a loss and have less money than where you would have had before. And then it's going to jack up again when the market gets more confident and you'll be buying back in at a higher price. Dollar cost averaging keeps the emotions in check, and that's the biggest area that people falter at. So Anyways, guys, that's it for today's video. I've rambled on enough here. If you enjoyed my rambling session, consider dropping a like, consider subscribing, leave a comment down below in the description or down in the comments section if you guys have anything you want to add, whether you agree or disagree with me on this relief rally in altcoins. And outside of that as well, if you guys are interested in getting access to any of the tools that we used here today, you can check out the 1-inch link down below in the description, as well as CryptoQuant, our leading data science provider here on the channel. That being said, everyone, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.